President Obama appears to point the finger at the Pentagon, at Iraqis, and others for everything that's gone wrong in the battle against ISIS. He suggested those fighting the terrorists are not as nimble and as aggressive as the terrorists are, and that we don't have a strategy.
When a finalized plan is presented to me by the Pentagon, then I will share it with the American people. It's not, we don't yet have a complete strategy because it requires commitments on the part of the Iraqis as well.
Let's bring in Gillian Turner, former member of the National Security Council during the Bush and Obama administrations. She is also a Fox News contributor. You might also add, Gillian, the Pentagon. The president seemed to suggest that the Pentagon is not exactly on the ball when he says, I'm waiting for the Pentagon to bring me a plan and then we'll finalize it.
Yeah, there were some sort of jabs at the Pentagon yesterday, as well as at Turkey and at the Iraqi military. But what concerns me even more than these comments from the president is his continual underestimation of the direct and dire threat that ISIS poses to the West, to the United States in particular, and to our way of life. It's my belief that without really fulsome appreciation of the challenge we face here, any strategy the administration comes up with, no matter how brilliant, is going to be doomed to failure.
I am just scratching my head about something that former Admiral John Kirby had to say on another network. I'll play that for you in a second. But this is a president who campaigned on the notion that he was going to get us out of the war in Iraq. Now, John Kirby, who used to be the Pentagon spokesman, he's now the State Department spokesman working for John Kerry and the president, says this.
Even if we were just talking about this from a military perspective, and I know we're not, but let's say we were, it's still going to take 3 to 5 years. It's going to take a while. This is not something that's going to be solved overnight, and I think all of us need to have a little bit of strategic patience here as we work our way through it.
3 to 5 years, he says, and that, his preface was, that's if you throw lots and lots of military assets at defeating ISIS.
You know, 30,000 plus right now, ISIS fighters. 5 years from now, maybe there'll be 1 million with the rate of recruitment that they're currently enjoying. You know, that's a little bit of an exaggeration, but the prospects are really quite horrific. And I'd also say that when the administration talks about ISIS, they tend to use language that really minimizes the threat that they pose, as well as the damage they've already inflicted. So just a quick reminder, they now control up to half of Syria, some very strategic swathes of Iraq, and they're now conducting suicide missions inside Saudi Arabia. All of this accomplished in spite of the 3,800 airstrikes the coalition has executed over the last 10 months.
And many of those pilots, you know, complain that they are being dispatched with weaponry on board. They get in the air, they see a target, but they are not authorized to hit it, at least not in time. Why is that happening?
Well, this is a part of a military strategy that reflects the president's core belief in this instance, which is that the rise of ISIS is an Iraqi problem. The responsibility to confront ISIS on the ground in combat belongs to Iraq. If anything, perhaps to the Middle East, and that the United States should not be overly involved here. But there's a faulty logic that myself and other people continually point out, which is that this is an organization that's very well organized. It's got hundreds of millions of dollars in the bank. It does not recognize national boundaries, and it has global aspirations. So I'd really caution that ISIS is no more an Iraq or a Middle East problem than, you know, the rise of the Third Reich in the 1930s was a Germany or European problem. This is something that's going to eventually, if left unchecked, affect all of us.
And so when ISIS threatens, as it just did in this online video posting, threatens to overtake Baghdad and you know, run the ancient capital of Iraq, you take them at their word on that?
Well, a lot of military analysts now really sort of, you know, eschew the idea that taking Baghdad is going to be impossible. And admittedly, it would be very, very difficult. The prospects look remote at this point. But as we've seen one after the other of Iraqi cities fall into the clutches of ISIL, Mosul's been under their control now for a year. Ramadi was not anticipated. We have to also remind ourselves that these same analysts have continually underestimated ISIS's capabilities and capacities. Yeah. So I think that to really cast that aside and not give it due consideration at this point would be an error.
Also worth noting, the president compared them to a JV squad, and now he's saying he doesn't have a strategy to deal with this JV squad. Gillian Turner, Fox News contributor. Thank you.
Thank you.